Let's go to Gottingen in Germany and speak to Oleg Nivievskyi, who's an assistant professor and vice president for economics education at the Kyiv School of Economics. Oleg, thank you so much indeed for your time. Just picking up on what Axel was telling us, how important are grain and agricultural exports to Ukraine's economy?
Well, before the war, that was one of the key sectors that was generating about more than 40% of export revenues. And this sector generated about a fifth of Ukrainian economy. So if you take together upstream and downstream sectors from agriculture, that would make up 20% of Ukrainian GDP. So the sector is quite important for Ukrainian economy.
Okay, you could say extremely significant even. But tell us, Oleg, about the Black Sea in general, because at the moment we're only talking about grain and agricultural produce being exported from the country. How much has Ukraine suffered economically from this blockade of the Black Sea ports regarding every other product that leaves Ukraine?
Yeah, the blockade of ports is very painful for Ukrainian economy, not just for agriculture, but also for iron ore and metal industry. So everything that is really connected to maritime transport, to maritime trade is very painful for Ukraine at the moment. And since Ukrainians were more like an export-oriented economy, that means all these products like agriculture and iron metal products really suffered a lot. And unblocking the ports is quite important. I'm really concerned about, the overall strategy of Russia that has been pursuing. We all know, at least in Ukraine, that the ultimate goal of Russia is actually, plunging Ukraine and, occupying Ukraine. So that means if agreements is successful and there will be kind of positive outcome of this agreement, I'm really afraid of that Russia will use and if Russia gets some trade-off because of this agreement and some concessions, like in terms of relieving insurance limits on oil transport, on agricultural transport, Russia will do everything possible to make exports not physically available. Like we've heard over the last months that they were shelling Mykolaiv ports, they were ruining grain terminals in Mykolaiv, in Odessa region. And we know that Russia kind of does not look at whether this is human or some physical resources. It doesn't matter for them. They just can do it whatever they need. We've seen that from shelling centers of Ukraine, city centers from Ukraine. So I'm really afraid that they will just use it for their own benefit, but will continue destroying port infrastructure and making export not possible from Ukraine, because this is in their strategic interest. They know that this is really painful, this is really bottleneck for Ukrainian economy, and they will take advantage of that.
Yeah, and in that regard, because of what's happening in eastern Ukraine and in the Donbass region in particular, the Russians have their political reasons for attacking the Donbass. But what they don't talk about is the economic impact on the rest of Ukraine because of how important Donbass is industrially. If the Russians were ever to have complete control of the Donbass, what would the effect be on the Ukrainian economy? There has been many analyses that say the Donbass is the industrial heartland, and then other analyses that say actually it's changed over the course of the past 20 or 30 years. Donbass is not as important economically as it used to be.
I would stick to this second evaluation of the situation, because over the last 8 years, since the very first time that Russia invaded Ukraine back in 2014 and annexed Crimea and Donbass region, the role of Donbass really diminished. So it substantially diminished in Ukraine. So because it's basically ruined territory. There is no much industry over there going on right now, especially right now after all these damages that we've seen over the last five months. So at the moment, it's not that important. Okay, maybe there are some economic interest that we don't know on the Russian side, but the role of ports at the moment is quite important for Ukraine.
Oleg, really appreciate it. As I said, it's really important analysis that you've given us. Oleg Nivievskyi in Gottingen in Germany.
Thank you.